super exciting edition of Inside Media Weekly. We went from 30 seconds to 5 seconds like that. It was amazing. I'm Ryan Boni.
He pulled it off.
Kevin Bastos.
I'm here.
Is here.
Yes.
Hooray!
No.
Thanks for coming back down
You're
to
welcome.
the show.
You're
the big
welcome.
show.
Skipping lunch again.
Justin Pinto's here.
I am here.
We're
Hi,
all
Mr. Pinto.
we're all here. And the Otters
Are not here.
I don't know what we're looking at here.
Detritus.
It is the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Are you sure?
Well,
Well, it's a camera that claims to be there.
Ah, truth.
so I
Live.
don't know if the otters have escaped and they're out in the ocean.
I'm sure there is
something's
something
coming in.
out there somewhere, some animal.
Detritus. Yes. It's fancy.
So we're looking
dirt.
We're looking at bay junk. Yeah, it's there's something swimming out there.
No, I think
Could be
it's
Aquaman.
flying.
Could be Aquaman.
Could be. Could be Aquaman.
Not exactly sure what's going on
Another
here.
stellar show. Just knocking it out of the park.
So, if otters aren't your thing, I know what is. Even bigger, the big news of this week is.
I don't know. What is the big news?
Where is it?
If you get here early, you can find out what's going on.
Where did it go?
It's a lot of tabs.
Oh, here it is. Sorry, I tried to open it.
7th tab.
Sega
Shelby.
Japan teases a Mini Genesis coming later in 2018.
Those are all the rage.
I don't understand.
The mini SNES.
And
the
first
mini
of all,
Nintendo.
so
Are
I
you
saw
gonna buy one?
Yes.
I
Do
saw
you
a
have
picture.
the SNES?
Yes.
The mini one?
Yes. I also have the NES.
They were tough to get for a while.
Oh, not anymore.
Well, I saw the picture and I was like, "How small is this thing?" And then there's a picture of one of the
Next
guys
to a
holding
dollar
it,
bill?
and I go, "Oh no, it is little. It is a tiny."
And it probably holds every video game that was ever made for the system on like a flash drive.
All the ones that are, yeah. And there's like a 30 with only the things they owned, not like any
Licensing
movie
things
licensing
and so on.
things. But there'll be something that you put in the side and, allow people to put those things on there.
So without being able to read the Twitter write-ups here,
Hit translate this page. Come on.
I know. So, are you into this whole?
I like the idea of it. I
Mini
just
game,
I understand that I have no
let's
time in my
bring
life for
back-
it, so I don't buy them.
I have them just because the time in my life is coming when I will have time in my life.
But these weren't great consoles. Like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, I will say
We perhaps will fight.
I have gone back and played some games, and sometimes you're like, this is not as much fun as it was that I remember it being.
I'm going to throw this out here.
There was okay.
The NES is the greatest
Okay.
console ever of all time.
So are they going
Would
to
you
bring
disagree
back,
with that?
Are they going to bring back Odyssey or
No.
Did they do it? They did it in television.
They've done a bunch of Intellivisions, but not to the same level. Like
with the really long.
once it gets
remote?
to the licensing limit, I think is 10 years on anything like this. After 10 years, anybody can make it. So once that 10 years expires, you can make another device that holds all of those. And I think it's 20 years or so on games. So once that time expires, you can make whatever you want as long as it's not licensed or continued in perpetuity. So for example, you can't make a Pac-Man game. That would be a violation of it. But you could take their bowling game or whatever else, as long as it's not taking the
So you're
license.
saying they roll out Pac-Man in some way, shape, or form at some point to keep it fresh?
Hypothetically, as long as that Pac-Man thing is used in perpetuity, you can't steal that away. But
So
I was
like,
thinking,
who was Pac-Man? Like, wasn't it? I forget the name.
it was
Namco or,
it was
Namco?
initially licensed and owned by one company, and then all the other versions were licensed and owned by a separate set of
But
companies.
if they make their Pac-Man game on like that thing that plugged in your TV, we made it. It's still ours. We get to keep it.
Correct.
You can't make the little plug in your TV device and
Correct.
try to sell it.
as long as they've kept that device still going.
What about the Pac-Man being in the movie with Adam Sandler?
Again,
Does that count?
that what's
Oh, I was going to say just Pac-Man was developed by Namco and is being distributed by Midway Games.
right.
Okay.
Right. So it's a dual ownership, but all the Ms. Pac-Mans, etc., their ownerships are different than the original Pac-Man. That's not Namco ownership anymore. So, yeah, as long as it's used, you can't violate that. But
I really shouldn't even be asking these questions because I'm never going to try to make a Pac-Man game and make money on it.
No.
I'm just going to hopefully find it and buy it if I want it. And as long as Adam Sandler and Tyrion Lannister are in that game show movie with Pac-Man, then we're all good to go. What more do we need in our days?
well, I love the fact that they even had the creator in it, but it wasn't the creator; it was some other guy.
Well, sometimes you can't get the creator. You just get another
Too
guy.
expensive.
So
Busy. I will probably buy a Genesis if it's in the neighborhood of $50-$60. You know. Oh, I heard about this. I read about this.
See,
I've seen this movie.
So,
have you seen this?
No.
since we're on video games,
Oh,
which we
yeah.
we never really do. So, so what's the governing body of video game records?
I
It's
forget what the company. There's
some
actually
name.
a specific company.
Did this guy cheat in Donkey Kong?
Yep.
So, Twin Galaxies is the official
There's
referee.
nothing sacred anymore.
The referee are of records for arcade games, and of course, Donkey Kong. They also went after the guy that did Dragster in like 5 seconds or 3 seconds, or something like that is the world record. But so they submit these records to the Guinness Book of World Records, and then now this company, I guess, is
It's not
starting
Guinness
to.
Book of World Records. It's Twin Galaxies.
Well, no, but I'm saying, but the record is also is shared.
The
with,
Guinness will take certain things because they're like, well, we'll do this. Yeah.
They don't do eating bikes anymore.
No. You don't think?
No. Have you looked that up?
No.
There actually is a world record in the Guinness Book of World Records for the man who ate a bike, like 11 days.
But they're not going to let
It
somebody try
actually
to break
it's
that.
in the book, but actually says we will no longer accept submissions in this category.
I see why.
So Billy Mitchell had the high in Donkey Kong, and I believe in Pac-Man as well, right? At one
I don't
point in
know
time.
whether or not.
I've never heard of this guy in my life.
So, well, they did a documentary, King of Kong, right?
It was great.
Did not see it.
Oh, you should watch. It's like 80 minutes long.
Is it on Netflix?
I think it was on Netflix. I think that's where I watched it.
I'll put it on my list of things that I say I'm going to watch.
Highly
tonight and will not
entertaining.
watch
Oh, it was.
anytime soon.
I would put that to the top of your list. It may have been Prime. It was on.
I have Prime also. I'll investigate.
Loved it.
Maybe.
Great.
Remind me in 3 weeks or in the summer.
So in '99, he was the first gamer to notch perfect score on Pac-Man, and then he was featured in the 2007 documentary, "The King of Kong Fistful of Quarters." Sorry,
That's different.
wrong thing. But so what was the problem? So he used an emulator. He didn't
Correct.
actually play it on the arcade console,
Correct.
and so that's no doesn't count.
Yeah, because with an emulator, you can manipulate the code in some way to force the game to your own advantage, and part of the
One would think that you could do.
Right.
If you've downloaded it into a file of ones and zeros, you could change those ones and zeros, theoretically.
part of the requirement, it has to be on those consoles to qualify. And more controversial in the whole mess is he initially had held the record on Donkey Kong,
Lost it.
lost it to some other guy,
Came back and beat it.
came back and got it, and I think he lost it again to some guy, and then there was some back and forth. The end of the game of the movie was pretty interesting because it was this man's whole quest to beat his record on it, and pretty much as soon as he found out he beat it, Billy Mitchell went back and beat him. So it was a back and forth kind of a thing. I mean, do you remember playing Donkey Kong?
I
the
do.
arcade
I
game?
can't remember getting past even up the first level.
It's
I feel
hard.
Like, yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And, again, it's leveling upon levelings. It's got, 2 levels, then you go back to the first, except it's harder. And they add a third level and go back to this, and then a fourth level. And again, it's one of those games where 1980s video games, faster and faster, harder and harder until you die.
Yeah.
Except Pac-Man and Donkey Kong actually have a place where the game can't play anymore. It gets to a level that's either unplayable or uncompletable because of defects in the code once it gets to a certain point.
No one will get to this
Wasn't
point.
the
We'll
last?
just stop.
Yeah, isn't the
256
last
levels on Pac-Man.
the last level of Pac-Man? Like not all the pieces are there, or something like that.
Yeah,
and
the
you-
256 level of Pac-Man actually has
I
problems.
thought I've ever
with
been
it.
there, but
No, I mean I got to like 8 once, and I was like, "Woohoo! I'm amazing!" Yeah, sad.
It's so true. It's
It
like
is.
Gallagher. You're like, I'm gonna get through this level this time. I'm gonna get. I've got
Fourth level.
I got the 2 spaceships next to
And
each
then-
other,
yeah,
and
and
then,
then
it's like,
fine.
oh, I'm doing great, and then all of a sudden, like, I lost all my lives in 30 seconds. there was only 2 bugs up there. What happened? And you're done.
Yeah, it was fascinating little documentary, but lose those records now. Sorry. And again, their perspective is you've cheated if you use the emulator.
Seems like a reasonable
So-
thing. I mean, I have it odd. I find it odd that they accepted the submission when it was on an
apparently
emulator in the first place.
In the early days,
How do you not
though-
know? Like, how did the guy? I beat the 256 level of
He-
Pac-Man. I'm just going to submit it.
Tried to make it look as if.
So like he had like a arcade built
Right.
thing with an Well, now he clearly has gone over it now.
And again, most of these guys, it's tough to get your hands on the actual gaming. But again, these are people who that's all they do. I mean,
but if you have the arcade, I mean, if it's the arcade in somebody's basement,
it is.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, clearly it could have been. I feel like you need to go to a Donkey Kong arcade game that is locked in a vault that we know is sacred.
I'm just saying.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it was funny. It was a really interesting documentary. Part of it is, go back to that picture of him and take a look at this guy. I mean, this is a man who's clearly living in 1986.
I first saw it, and my first thought was, Chuck Norris looks really young. And I was like, wait, that's not Chuck. What's going on?
And again, bad hybridization of the still rocking the mullet.
So the thing I read a couple of these articles, but I didn't get. So is the record vacant right now, or are they going to go back in
to the
time?
old guy, I think.
Okay.
The other guy, the back and forth.
Right.
Oh, I thought maybe it was open, and then
We could quick go on Donkey Kong and submit real fast.
Well,
I got to levels 2.
Because they said in the early days, it pretty much people would just write in and say, I got the score, and they would just kind of base it all on
Then they had a
honesty.
competition. They would bring everybody in to watch it. And that, again, part of the documentary, fascinating to watch all these world-level gaming competitors. There's actually a Saturday morning television show where they would bring people in.
I think Robert
Do you
Morris
remember
has
that show?
esports scholarships now. I think Bobby Moe has esports scholarships.
so.
Good gravy.
Gotta be pretty good.
I understand. Or Patheticad. One of the two.
You gotta be. Hey, I was pretty good at Minesweeper for a while. I've lost my skills, but Minesweeper. I miss the fact that it doesn't come installed on every computer anymore. And the fact that we have tablets and no mice, and you can't do it with you have to have a mouse.
And the fact that Minesweeper was a pretty terrible game.
I loved Minesweeper. It's awesome. I loved it.
Get to the point where you have to guess.
Sometimes you have to guess.
Yeah,
Well, that's part of the challenge.
I know.
What's interesting about the whole journey, though, is Mario wasn't a very important character in the original Donkey. I mean, that was you, but everything was about Donkey Kong, and then of course Super Mario exploded in this giant thing.
He didn't even have a name
and-
in the Donkey Kong game.
And now
Mario himself. You saying no name?
he looked the same. Yeah,
Was the princess was a Donkey Kong, wasn't she?
Yes.
But now this
She
whole
probably wasn't called that name either.
I don't know if
Second game, Super Mario Brothers, was the first one where he had a name, and it was you, Mario, and Luigi. But I don't think Luigi had a name at that point. It's the Mario Brothers.
It's hard coming up with names.
No.
It's coming wild.
Do you remember that playing that one?
Super Mario 1?
No. Super
Mario Brothers?
No, not the NES version. The one where it was just two pipes that
No,
spit out things
no,
at the top.
no,
that
no,
was
no.
the first
No,
game
it
where
was
he
not.
had a name
No, it was not. The first Mario I played was Super Mario
on NES.
on NES that sometimes came with Duck Hunt on the same cartridge, sometimes not.
God. Nice. All right.
Little gun that came with it.
Well, this has been Inside Video Games Weekly. We
1988
I'll
edition.
have to investigate because I have a friend who is very into video games. He collects them, has all the consoles. He hooks them
Nice.
up. I sold him my Virtual Boy.
Oh, I
few
bet he
years
paid
ago.
a few $100 for that.
No, it wasn't worth that much. It
Yeah,
had its
it's-
day in the sun, but then it really came down. I feel like
Oh.
we investigated. And I mean, he wanted it. I don't need to.
Virtual Boy. Here.
Virtual Boy. That game system was
Terrible?
awful.
Terrible. Gave you headaches.
I never really got headaches. I played it sometimes, but it's like that nice. It's I got this thing, and you're on your kitchen table with your like these goggles. It's so bad. Oh, Virtual Boy. They had a game, but it's amazing they had.
Now think about it. Ready? What are you playing with? My Virtual Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Don't
Don't call the cops on you.
It was so the red lines and it was all like this terrible
yeah.
technique on 3D. It was so bad. It was awful. Tennis was like I had tennis for it and it was just like, why am I playing this? Why am I not just playing it on? It looks exactly like it would on the TV on an NES, except it's in red and black lines
Only.
And my head may hurt when I'm done.
What a great idea.
I don't think it took off like they thought it would.
It did not. Tremendous failure.
So, speaking of tremendous failure, who is this guy?
Is that from?
So, Deadpool 2 trailer
Yes, came
out, and there's this mystery character who they believe is an old school X-Men mutant.
We don't know who he is,
We don't know.
and they haven't cracked the code online yet. I mean, I find that very interesting that nobody has figured out who it is.
Well, I'm sure there's lots of guesses.
Huh?
Rusty? Oh boy, I really hope it's not Rusty.
You know, and I'll find out who it is if they tell me when I see the movie.
In the new in the trailer, Wade Wilson does call Julian Dennison's character Russell. So they want to know if he's Russell Collins, Fire Fist, mutant can generate fire. I like how the names always give away the secret.
Yeah. Well,
you know what their power is.
You're not going to be like, what's your name? Locksmith. What's your superpower? Well, I generate fire.
Well, that's true, but you think you wouldn't want to give away, to your enemies your power right away.
I would expect if you're meeting and your enemies.
Okay, fair enough.
You're not start battling random people.
But you got any speculation on?
No.
What's your mutant power? I load the dishwasher correctly.
I may be a superhero.
You never know.
I did not realize that.
Other big news, by the way.
It's a lot of big news.
As it loads. What do all these people have in common? So Steven Spielberg is the first director to cross $10 billion in the box office. Woo-hoo! As Ready Player One is doing well.
Still haven't seen it.
Despite some unevenish type of response from,
It's made $474 million worldwide?
Worldwide, yeah.
Wow. That is a good chunk of money.
Don't read the second book.
I haven't read the first book yet.
Armada's terrible. Read the first one.
Oh, what was I looking at today? Oh, I had an interesting. Well, maybe it'll come to me when we start talking about Box Office Mojo at some point. I had an interesting tidbit, and I forget what it was, but it'll come to me, I think.
Tidbit. Okay.
I forget. Let me.
About Ready Player One?
No,
Ernie
no.
Klein?
It was about. I was
Deadpool?
looking at the all-time box office.
Okay.
Well, speaking of Ready Player One, it did come in number 4 this past weekend. It's made 152 million. 11 million. The Rock is back on top.
Yeah, where he belongs.
He's also in number 27 or 23, I think, with Jumanji this week. Like Jumanji is still making money.
I saw
20 something.
It's 27, $186,000.
Did you?
Yes, it was good.
Theater?
No,
Because it's out on video.
Yes.
I like how it's out. You could go get it.
or pay money, whichever you choose. Then you don't have nothing. That's probably in the dollar theaters wherever they still remain somewhere.
I don't know. I mean, $186,000.
Speaking of which, to throw a lot, did you hear the Century 3 is getting sold?
Yeah.
The mall?
Yeah.
I heard it was up for sheriff. I thought it was up for like sheriff sale or something.
Yeah.
The biggest mall wasn't it like the biggest mall like the Western Hemisphere at one point?
I wouldn't say that.
No, I mean, wasn't it something crazy like that?
It was something big.
It was big. But speaking of
Have you been there lately?
There's not a lot going on there.
No.
They have a pretty big comic book store.
Oh yeah, like 5 stores that are the comic book store.
Well, they just said, take as much space as you
Right.
want. I mean, hey, we got
You're still paying us?
We got room. Hey,
Take whatever you want.
You want Sears? You want the Sears space? We'll give you the whole place. You can have the whole thing. Multiple floors.
Not a problem.
Yeah, sell whatever you want.
Black Panther's still number 6 this
not
past
bad.
weekend, doing well. But so Rampage,
bad.
35 million, which I think is pretty good. I would imagine for The Rock. It's having a hard time holding off The Quiet Place, which has done tremendously well.
Especially for the investment.
It shows there here that A Quiet Place only had a 34% drop, which is
Well, look, I like how Isle of
pretty
Dogs had a 20%
crazy.
increase.
It did. Isle of Dogs is going up. Truth or Dare had a nice debut at 18 million, number 3.
I remember reading an article going on the weekend. It was predicting that Rampage did not have enough good buzz around it to even beat it. There was a prediction that it would not beat. Rampage would not win.
Would not win the weekend.
And then word of mouth was better than they expected it to be, so it edged out Quiet Place by the end.
I mean, I got to imagine that people who want to see the Rampage are not waiting for the critical reviews of the movie to go see it. Like, if I'm going to go see Rampage with The Rock, it's because I either like the game, like The Rock, or just want some movie that I don't have to think about. And it's like,
When would you guess Rampage the video game was? 25 years ago?
wasn't it? It had to be in the early '90s.
I played it in a car. Oh yeah,
at the
I would guess
earliest,
1988
or the
89.
latest. The latest, like 90. Yeah. I played Rampage. I remember playing Rampage.
Really?
You know, what the three monsters come in the building? Wasn't that what it was?
There were more monsters later.
I didn't get that far. I was young. I wasn't that. Yeah.
See, I was the point where I could just keep throwing quarters in it and run out of money.
Arcades. What happened? They're gone.
Yep.
By the way, Rampage.
I went to an arcade museum in Detroit.
Well, I'm sure they have those
That was
arcade places
cool.
that you can get some
Seriously old video games
Nice.
and in-betweens. Everything ran on
like
quarters.
Chuck E. Cheese
Hubert?
has
Yes.
Cheese has video games, but it's just like they're just not the same.
No, why would I go there? No, they're not the same.
Well, I know why I went there. I know why I was there, but I mean,
For the awesome pizza.
I don't mind it really. It's just
Have you
acceptable
ever
enough.
had pizza before?
Yes, I mean if I'm going out to get pizza, I'm not. Hey, you want to get pizza tonight? I'm gonna go over to Chuck E. Cheese, pick some up, bring it home. That's not the conversation. But if I'm there, being like about to go
force.
into the abyss that is waiting at the ticket counter for prizes, where only there could 87 cents cause so many dilemmas on what you will get. You have 87 tickets, and we're gonna be here for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Rampage was the 12th largest opening for The Rock. So it's not. I mean, you know,
The dude's been in like 82 movies in the last 5 years. I mean, like he's just.
would've
Jumanji.
thunk it, too?
Only made was 36 million. So on its opening
Just beat
weekend, Rampage.
But
was
Jumanji
35.
then like had that like staying power like
Oh,
Black
just
Panther for a while.
stuck
It was like
forever.
Jumanji.
Now we have to remind ourselves with The Rock, the first 4
Or
are all Fast and Furious movies.
Okay.
Furious 7, Fate of the Furious, Fast and Furious 6, and Fast 5. Obviously, the ones he's in. The Mummy Returns. They have listed.
He's in it.
He
Yeah.
is. He is.
Does he have any line? No lines, right?
I think he is mute in the
Okay.
film.
He yells, I'm sure.
Probably.
Then you have
The
Moana.
Rock screams.
Then you have Moana at 6.
Okay.
Which, you know, he's
How
obviously an
about
important
Furious
part.
7 is like the 43rd biggest movie. This is not my tidbit, but the 43rd biggest movie domestically, but the 7th biggest movie worldwide all time.
Oh, of course.
I mean, the overseas. Wow. But it's like that. I mean, that's a pretty big discrepancy, really. Like
Yeah,
the
a lot.
43rd,
47 to
the 43rd movie here to the 7th.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
San Andreas, G.I. Joe Retaliation, and can't forget Get Smart. He's in.
Oh, I like that movie.
I do like Get Smart.
Or above, and then Jumanji, and then Scorpion King, of course, was his movie.
Okay.
Those are
By
the.
the way, Rampage video game, 1986.
Wow.
That scares me.
I was in kindergarten.
I was a little above kindergarten at the time.
I was in kindergarten, 1986.
I think that was 9th grade for me, 8th to 9th grade.
Oh, this is an old story.
Nope.
Sorry.
Oh, the old story.
Bring up the agenda.
I had
The rundown.
Rundown, yeah. What do we got?
Yoda is
Old stories. Old stories in there.
Yoda is
Which is
rumored to
worse?
return. Yoda is rumored to return to train Rey in Star Wars 9.
Okay.
Yes, true. I would expect so.
Apparently, the cast does not yet know what the Avengers 4 title's name is going to be. And we're talking about
Gotta
last
keep it
time.
secret.
So
Why would you need to tell the cast? They don't need to worry.
this week in
The next Avengers movie.
in Indonesia movie news.
What?
So
Wow, we are digging. We are going through stuff fast today.
Avengers: Infinity War. Of course, all these movies now they get these kind of really staggered releases as far as international markets go. Sometimes everything comes out at once, but a lot of times they're getting different ones. Well, apparently in Indonesia,
It's out already.
Avengers: Infinity War. Actually, it's not quite yet, but there's some censorship going on, and they are cutting 7 minutes out of the movie. And
I'd actually like if they cut 7 minutes out of it.
Joe
Here also,
Russo.
maybe a little shorter. Like I'd do.
Yeah, give it to me on the Blu-ray. I can watch the cutscenes later.
Just,
I still have not watched the cutscenes from.
I'm gonna
Star
go
Wars
see
film.
this movie like at 7 or 9 o'clock at night. I would like to get home earlier. Give it to me so I can watch it in
Let's see, 9
multiple
o'clock
views.
showing, hour and a half of previews and commercials.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. I have to go, guys. I have to go to work. Can we get the previews over with, please?
Some of us don't live with our parents anymore, and we have a job.
So Joe Russo says, I can't imagine what 7 minutes they'd want to cut out of the movie. It's the first we're hearing of it as we're a little taken aback. But yes, of course, as an artist, you don't want anybody censoring anything or taking anything out of the film. This is a PG-13 movie. It's not like it's some kind of radical piece of content, so I'm a little shocked.
Well, we'll have to just wait till it comes out, and someone will be analyzing it and tell us what's missing.
So I'm assuming there's going to be the
Right now, there's a guy flying over to Indonesia.
unrated director's cuts, which will be the actual movie, will be released on disc in Indonesia. In 4 months' time. This weekend,
Or it might be online sometime like before you.
This weekend, you know what's coming out, don't you?
No, not a clue.
If it would click, you'd be able to see it.
April 13th to the 15th, the last weekend.
That was
Rampage.
There we go.
All right.
So don't get. It went crazy. By the way, don't get confused. This is not Traffic, the old Traffic movie. This is Traffic with a K. Super Troopers 2, only coming out 4 decades after the first one, I think it is. What?
Not quite. Yes. About
How
20
long ago was
years.
the first Super Troopers?
I saw an opportunity for free tickets for Super Troopers 2. Just saying.
I'm not going to go.
I have children.
What about I Feel Pretty? Is that going to be? Do we have
never
something
even
that's
heard of
going
the
to
movie.
knock out?
Hearing it for the first time. I don't even know who's in I Feel Pretty.
And it's got 3,000 movie theaters.
That's
Seems
like
a lot of
almost
theaters.
twice as many as Super Troopers Part 2.
And I've heard of that movie.
Mm-hmm. Many times. Perhaps it's the circles of people where caught
I mean, I feel like I haven't seen a commercial for I Feel
Well,
Pretty.
let me read you the
Please.
the description, and then you tell me which actress you believe should be in the role of this.
Go on.
A woman who struggles with feelings of insecurity and inadequacy on a daily basis wakes from a fall believing she is suddenly the most beautiful and capable woman on the planet. With this newfound confidence, she is empowered to live her life fearlessly and flawlessly. But what will happen when she realizes her appearance never changed?
Julia Roberts. I don't know.
It's Amy Schumer. It's a new movie, by the way.
Oh.
Okay. And I didn't realize it was the name. I saw.
I think I did hear something about this.
Never heard of it.
I think Amy Schumer is sort of done.
Once you said, you tell me who you think is going to be in this movie, before you even started reading, I could only think of Meryl Streep, and at no point did I ever deviate from Meryl Streep, but I feel like she's
Okay.
like, can we get Meryl? Okay, let's get Meryl Streep. And if she was in this movie, guaranteed she would be nominated for an Academy Award.
Yes.
Guaranteed. She did a comedy. She's reaching out. She did a comedy. Give her a nomination.
So the first.
Is she going to win? No, she's not going to win.
Doesn't matter.
The
But she's
first
going to be
Super
nominated.
Troopers is 2001.
Yeah, it was almost 20 years.
Wow. All right. It took in $23 million. The total
In its
US.
gross. One of my favorite things about Super
I'm
Troopers
thinking
2
this one's
is...
going to do better than that.
Yes, and it was a GoFundMe kind of a thing. It was started under... They said they wanted to raise $2 million before they would do it, and I think they raised it in like a day. Something ridiculous. I thought I should put in money for that. Then I didn't because I didn't care that much too.
Somebody else will get make the movie for you. You're going to give it money maybe when you watch it.
That is all the time we have. Of course, this is the last week before Avengers destroys the box office.
Yes.
Next Thursday.
This
I'm
upcoming.
like, it's not this week.
No.
This
I'm saying
Thursday,
this
I have
is
bowling.
this is the last.
Next Thursday, Avengers.
Last week, these movies have a chance to make some money. So if I Feel Pretty or Traffic or Super Troopers 2 is
Now's the time.
now before everything gets blown away. Well, that's all the time we have for on this edition of Inside Media Weekly and Video Game Weekly. Thanks for joining us.